Now that we know for sure that Jon is a legitimate Targaryen and heir to the Iron Throne, it will be interesting to watch him discover his truth and see how it affects his relationship with Daenerys. Despite her being his aunt, incest is a Targaryen tradition. Daenerys herself is a product of incest, and Targaryens have been known to marry siblings, nieces, nephews, and cousins. So all those that are still against this, perhaps consider that this is a television show and not reality. And if you can openly accept your favorite characters brutally murdering individuals, surely incest isn't the worst offense on this show. Moving on, it was great to finally see one of them man up and make the first move. I have to say, I was surprised Jon was the one to do it. A lot of people didn't see their chemistry, even those that watched my videos explaining their romantic buildup. The link to those is in the description below. Why do you think Jon and Daenerys withheld their feelings for one another for so long? Was it fear of rejection? Being a powerful individual, it must bruise the ego when you are rejected, especially romantically. Or was it uncertainty? Were they not sure about their feelings for one another? It seemed that Jon may have been sexually attracted to her, but he didn't truly fall for her until he witnessed her greatness firsthand. And Daenerys seemed to be longing after him early on. Needless to say, their love seems genuine and goes beyond looks. They both are similar, driven by purpose, and willing to sacrifice personal pleasure for the greater good. Ultimately, I believe this is the quality that brings them together. And so here are my predictions for season 8. 4 things you must look out for. Despite the great war ahead, which I would classify as an external conflict, we will see Jon battling with internal conflict from his true identity to his love life. Here's how. Number 1. Jon has been battling identity issues all his life.
I was jealous of Rob my whole life. The way my father looked at him, I wanted that. He was better than me at everything. I wanted to hate him, but I never could.
Pledge me your service and you'll rise again as Jon Stark, Lord of Winterfell.
I'll make you a Stark with the stroke of a pen.
It's the first thing I ever remember wanting. A daydream that my father would ask the king. And just like that, I would never be the bastard of Winterfell again.
He deserved this. You do. I couldn't be happier for you.
I'm gonna refuse him.
But you'd be Lord of Winterfell.
I swore a vow to the Night's Watch. If I don't take my own words seriously, what sort of Lord of Winterfell would I be?
He has finally come to terms with who he is. Even though he was selected as King of the North, he didn't change his name to Jon Stark. He stayed true to who he is. He has finally reached stable grounds. But once Jon finds out the truth, it will shake up his life once again. Will he hold this against Ned or understand?
Is my mother alive? Does she know about me, where I am, where I'm going? Does she care?
The next time we see each other, we'll talk about your mother. I promise.
When my husband brought that baby home from the war, I couldn't bear to look at it. I didn't want to see those brown stranger's eyes staring up at me. So I prayed to the gods. Take him away. Make him die. I want you to leave.
Ned could have at least told his wife Catelyn so she wouldn't have been so cold towards Jon. When he discovers that he is even politically and socially superior to the Starks, robbed of his right by Robert Baratheon and his uncle, Ned Stark. Will he be bitter? Or will he forgive and get over it? He has overcome so much in his life.
Not only a bastard, but a traitor's bastard.
You have many enemies in Castle Black. Have you considered sending Alistair Thorne elsewhere?
I name you First Ranger.
Will he understand that Ned did this to protect him? As honorable as Jon is, he is still human and is likely to hold this resentment deep in his heart. As William Faulkner said, and a quote that inspired George R.R. Martin in his works, "The only thing worth writing about is the human heart in conflict with itself." And so to conclude, Jon may harbor resentment deep down, but ultimately, if the writer stay true to who he is at his core, this news and his possible bitterness will not affect him terminally, nor his relationship with the Starks. Ned Stark was the only father that Jon knew.
Our father was more of a father to you than yours ever was. He's a part of you. Just like he's a part of me. You don't need to choose. You're a Greyjoy. And you're a Stark.
Number 2. Will Jon allow Dany be the reigning monarch? I do believe that Jon will allow Dany remain queen. He has already given up his position as King of the North because he believes in her. It is not in his character to break an oath. But if the Northern Lords discover the truth, they may respond in one of two ways. A, they instantly drop Jon and back Sansa. They have already proven themselves to sway whichever way the wind blows.
We did not choose you to rule us, my lady. But perhaps we should have.
The Knights of the Vale came here for you, Lady Stark.
And often state their loyalty is only in the North.
Bear Island knows no king but the king in the North, whose name is Stark.
If they learn that Jon isn't Ned Stark's kid and heir to Winterfell, they have every reason to back Sansa over him. But rest assured, Arya will keep Sansa in line and loyal to Jon if this occurs. The other way is B. The Northern Lords may strive to make Jon king of the Seven Kingdoms, increasing the northern influence across Westeros. But Jon has bigger things on his mind and is not likely to accept this. It will take a lot of convincing for the Northerners to sway Jon to go against Dany politically. They may even try to explain to him that as a Targaryen, he is just as powerful, important, and capable as she is, and diminish all the awe he sees in her. He may even be convinced of this, but Jon isn't one to break an oath. And Dany's army is far larger than the Northern army. They cannot match her threat. And so to conclude, strategically and honorably, he wouldn't have political conflict with her. But there may be one thing that could split them up, which leads me to my next point. Number 3. Jon will be bothered when he finds out that Dany is his aunt. On paper, the Jon that we know's honor wouldn't allow him to be with Dany romantically. Incest is a taboo in the North, and though Jon is a dragon, he was raised by wolves. There are two ways this could play out, both in the name of honor. A, Jon can break her heart. This can affect them politically and tear their alliance. Though Dany isn't petty, for the most part, she does occasionally have anger issues and did burn the witch that broke her heart by killing Khal Drogo. This can show that she is capable of developing a distaste for Jon if he breaks her heart. We have never seen her so deep in love as she seems to be right now. But like I said, she isn't petty enough to stop supporting him in the Great War against the White Walkers. But aside from that, she may not forgive him for breaking her heart. Perhaps what some people consider to be a lack of chemistry between Jon and Dany is justified in this future possibility. We want them to love each other. It is a great romantic story many viewers long for. But technically, they haven't outwardly expressed any romantic feelings for one another. So perhaps they aren't even in love at all. Or maybe Dany is more into Jon than he is into her. Hard to tell, and the truth is really in the writer's hands. But if they are in love, and he breaks her heart, expect political conflict in their future. B. After he finds out that Dany is his aunt, the only thing that will keep Jon with Dany is if she gets pregnant. The writers have been hinting to this idea a lot, and despite Dany being barren, the magic of Valyria that is present in Targaryen blood and their sexual union may dispel her barrenness. If she gets pregnant, Jon will have to choose the lesser of two evils. It is the same honor that will lead Jon to marry her. Jon simply wouldn't want to bring a bastard into the world.
So I sat there in the brothel as Rose took off her clothes. But I couldn't do it. Because all I could think was, what if I got her pregnant? If she had a child, another bastard named Snow. It's not a good life for a child.
Also, I think Dany will go to lengths to convince Jon that incest is normal. It is part of their family's tradition, and that may allow Jon to justify it. Number 4. How will the Starks receive Dany and Jon? Sansa wouldn't be too fond of the idea that Jon bent the knee. She probably wouldn't even like the fact that he's falling in love with Daenerys, and so she may see Dany as a threat. After all, as far as she knows...
Have you forgotten what happened to our grandfather? The Mad King invited him to King's Landing and roasted him alive.
And then he kidnapped her and raped her.
However, once it is revealed that Jon is the heir to the Iron Throne, Sansa will probably urge him to take the throne so that she can be Wardeness of the North and Lady of Winterfell, which is her ultimate goal. B. As for Arya, I imagine she'll have a very emotional reunion with Jon, even more so than his reunion with Sansa. And if Dany is present for that, Arya will make an impression on her. I wouldn't say Dany would be threatened by Arya and Jon's closeness, but it would be interesting for the writers to explore that option. Powerful women like Dany are often territorial with their close companions. It would make sense for Dany to be uncomfortable with him being close with another woman. And seeing as Dany grew up without a family, all she had was a scum of a brother, she wouldn't really understand or relate to close siblings and family members. Also, because the tone of the show isn't all joy and happiness, it would make sense for the writers to create more conflict. Arya is wild and quite protective of her family, so she will want to read Dany's true intentions and character before warming up to her. But it shouldn't take long for the Starks to realize that, deep down, Dany's a good person. Also, I'm curious to see how Jon and Dany react to Arya's fighting skills. Jon will be proud, but I don't think he'll be too eager to have her fight beside him in the war. Right now, Arya, Sansa, and Bran are the most valuable people to him in the world. As for Dany, she could either be impressed by Arya's skills or threatened. Good thing she has a large army to protect her. I don't have much to say about Bran. He'll probably be dull and dutiful as usual. His priority will be to inform Jon about his heritage and defeat the Night King. I think Jon will struggle the most with the new cold person Bran has become. And so to conclude, in Season 8, we can expect more external conflict with the battle against the Whites and Cersei Lannister, and internal conflicts with their personal issues.